Hey, it's Karamu, and this is a practice to open out the lower belly, the upper belly, and even the side of the waist. So in the classes, we tend to focus on the back bending from the upper back, but I also find it very important to open up the belly space. So think about today creating more space between the lowest part of your ribs and the hips. Essentially that this is getting longer, more space here. Yeah. So I want to use 2 blocks. You can use one. If you have bigger blocks, I'd recommend getting bigger blocks. If you don't have blocks, use books. You can throw a blanket over it if it's a bit too hard for you. Try to make it your own. As with all of the practices, try to make it your own. So even if the sequencing that I'm doing right now isn't working for you and you need to do it a little bit differently, try to figure out what works best for you. I'd rather you develop that intuitive sense. When you're ready, you can come down lying on your back, and then we'll get started. So just a few deep breaths here. I have the knees bent, toes are straight in front. Just gonna take a few deep breaths in here. Try to open out in the chest. Spread the ribs as you inhale. With each breath, a little bit deeper, a little bit wider, so you can really exaggerate as you inhale. Not forcing anything, obviously. And there goes my tummy rumbling a little bit. All right, when you're ready, you can slowly bring the hips up a few times, just coming into a lower back lift, into a bridge pose. Just to wake up some of the muscles on the back side. Really try to use the glutes as you come up and reaching the knees away from you, lifting the chest up towards you, and coming back down. So, although these practices are kind of short, I would recommend doing a quick warm-up beforehand, even if that's just loosening the joints or something to kind of prepare you for the movements. If that's more of a longer practice, that's totally fine. All right, last time. You exhale, bring the hips down. You can just softly bring the knees over to the right and left. Now make sure that the feet are a little bit wider than the hips, and you can bring both knees over to the right side. Now it depends on how far you can go in the hips, lower back, shoulders, whatever. So if you feel like bringing the left arm back as well, feel free. Take a deep inhale. Exhale. Take a deep inhale. Exhale. One more time, deep in. Deep out. You're going to slowly lift the left knee a few centimeters up, so not so far that you're creating a lot of stretch, but what I want you to do is lift the left knee, keep the left foot down, and you lift it up until you feel like the left hip is working a little bit more. You'll feel the outside of the hip start to turn on, and then you take another 3 breaths. And now start to reach the left knee away from you as you lift the chest towards you. So you're, again, trying to make more space between the ribs and the hips. See if you can lengthen that a little bit more. So the left hip and the left rib reach away from each other. And then you inhale again, deep. Try to breathe into that space.
One more time. And then you're just gonna exhale, drop the left knee down, let it relax completely, let the chest relax completely. And we're gonna do that 3 more times, just moving on the inhale. So you can inhale, lift and open, reaching the hip and rib away. And then exhale, release. And then you can inhale, lift and open. Knee and hip reach away from the rib and shoulder. And then release. Really drop the knee all the way down. Last time. And release. You can bring the arm back into center. And slowly bring the knees also back into center. Deep breath here. Two more breaths. On the next exhale, you can drop the knees over to the left side. Notice I'm going quite slow, so really take your time with these things. Deep breath here. Maybe bringing the right arm back. And then slowly lifting the right knee up. Keep the foot down. You can inhale again. Taking 3 breaths here, so try to lengthen the right rib cage away from the right hip. And the right outer hip and the outside of the right leg should be working nice and actively. Deep breath. Last one here. And slowly start to reach the right knee away from you, reach the right rib cage towards you. Hip and rib reaching away from each other, knee and shoulder reaching away from each other, and the neck should be open, so don't close off with the shoulder. 3 breaths here should be enough. Make sure the outside of the leg is working. Even the glute can be firing as you push the knee away. One more breath. You can exhale, you can drop the knee very softly. And then we're going to do 3 times again. So you're just lifting the knee up, reaching away, lengthening, and then exhaling, relaxing down. And if you notice that one side is like crazy tight versus the other side, it's okay to give a little bit more tension there. So maybe do that side a few more times. Slowly coming back down. And then bringing the legs back into center. Inhale again, deep breath in and out. Feet are nice and planted. And then we're going to slowly lift up into a bridge pose one more time, just to notice if there's a little bit more space in how we can bring the hips up, and even about bringing and reaching the knees forward and the ribs away towards the chin. 2 or 3 times is enough, just to get that feeling sensation. Next time the hips come up, you can grab your blocks and then slowly bring the blocks under the hips. So keep them next to each other like this on its lowest setting, just for the beginning, just for the first time. You can straighten out the legs a little bit more forward. You can keep the knees or the heels at hips width distance away from each other. And if the arms are next to the hips or above you, that's absolutely fine. But I want you to think about sort of Superman and Wonder Woman, how they're flying. Their chest is puffed out a little bit. Their legs are nice and strong and active. Glutes are firing, so we're pressing the heels down a little bit. And as that happens, you'll feel that the pelvis will tip away, and that's what I'm looking for right now. As I reach the heels away and I press them down, the glutes work. And then the arms can be active just a little bit as well, as if I'm pressing the hands down. Thereby also trying to lift the chest away, the ribs away from the hips. Another deep breath. And let's just do one more for good sake. You can relax, bring the hands next to you again. Bend the knees. Take another breath here. And then we're going to straighten the right leg and bring it a little bit out to the side so it can be out towards the corner of the mat. That's absolutely fine. Pull the left knee in and then flex the right foot. So the leg is quite nice and active. Again, if you want to bring the right arm back, that's absolutely fine. But what we're going to do is you need to kind of find the position for yourself. If the knee is pointing out, it's okay, but try to find the position. So maybe the knee needs to turn in and the foot turns out. Find the position that fires the right glute so that your right glute starts to work really nicely. And your pelvis, it'll tilt. You'll tilt over to the left side when this starts to work. And then you try to create length again. So you press the heel away from you, the thighs in whatever position works for you today, and then you reach the right rib cage away. Now, if you can do Uddiyana Bandha, feel free to do that. It can help to open out just a little bit deeper in the pose. What you can also do is bring the left knee further sideways, or maybe bring it more into center. Again, find what works for you, what's creating the right engagement, what's creating length in the torso. Deep breath. And relax. You can slowly drop the foot. Bring the knee back. Right leg is back. Just notice the difference. And then we're just going to quickly switch sides again. So left leg comes out. Knee is in whatever position it needs to be. And that could be very different than the right leg. Right leg comes up, arms are wherever they need to be, and then you reach out of the heel, you press the heel down as well. You might tilt a bit, that's absolutely fine. Inhaling, try to find the right position for the right leg, right knee needs to be more out or more into center. And then you're reaching the left rib cage away from the hips, left rib cage away from the left hip bone. If it's too tight and you notice that you're not getting any movement or it's not opening up, what you can also do is just use the hands and massage very softly next to the left belly button. You can do that quite easily here in this position. And you can imagine just very softly lifting and pushing or pulling the hips away from the ribs as you just bring your hands over the belly button, left side of the belly button. Yeah? If that's not needed, you're just right here. One more breath. Exhaling, slowly coming out. Oh. You can lift the hips up again, coming into that lift, a bridge pose, and then slowly find your way back. One more time. Slowly find your way back, pull the knees in, keep the tailbone nice and grounded. Deep breath. And if you can, reach the legs nice and straight up, feel free, but if they're bent like this, it's absolutely fine. What I want you to do is work on activating the upper thighs, the quads. And what you can do for that is just bending the knees either towards you and then think about stretching the legs overhead. But you're not trying to stretch in the sense of opening out the backside. What I want you to focus on is creating the strength and the function of the quads. Deep breath in. And next exhale, we can relax. Bring the feet down again, lift the hips up back into that bridge pose in one movement. Oh, that feels fantastic. And then exhale back down. All right, roll over to one side, preferably the right side. Grab your blocks. And then we're going to move into the back bending portion. If you have books, you can always place the books over it, but just make sure that the front side, the side that you're on, is aligned. So even if the books, even if you're using something like this, not here, here, okay? And again, if it's too hard, you, as in like if the structure that you're working on is a little bit too tough for your back, just chuck a blanket over it. Supporting the upper back here. And for the moment, I have the legs straight. If it's a bit more comfortable for you to lengthen the legs out, that's absolutely fine. But I would prefer we grab the head for the moment. And all you're going to do is just wiggle back and forth over your block. As we're doing this, you might feel a little bit of stretch or sensation in the armpits or along the rib cage. It's absolutely fine. What I want you to also do is start to push the heels forward away from you. So you can think about tipping the pelvis back into a neutral position. Imagining the hips reaching away from the ribs. And if you ever need to come out, you just come out. And then we're slowly going to bring the elbows in just a little bit more, elbows in towards each other. And I want you to start to relax the hands so that the head is carrying a little bit more weight. Your neck is carrying the head a little bit more. And it's not that your neck drops back completely. Keep it level with your chest. But you want some of the weight to be carried by the neck. Just a little bit. And then you grab it again. And then we're going to move side to side again, just shifting. If you're quite advanced and this is doing nothing for you, you can just try to add another block, reposition the block in a different way, whatever you feel works for you. I'd recommend, if you feel any bone pain, to really come out, obviously. We're going to lift the chin back up, bring the hands next to the hips, and then just lift yourself up, long belly here. And what you can do is just fold the chin in a little bit, round the back a little bit, and then I want you to come in Dandasana. Nice strong posture, nice and lengthened out. As you inhale, open the chest, open the rib cage, breathe down into the pelvis. And then when you exhale, imagine pushing all that tension and energy out of the feet, like you're releasing it out of the legs. Deep breath. When you exhale, 2 more times. Last time. And we're slowly going to reach back down onto the blocks. So if you notice that opened a lot for you, you can reposition the blocks, maybe putting it in its length along the spine and instead of perpendicular to the spine. If you're okay where you are, obviously just stay there. But you're just going to wiggle a little bit more, and don't forget about the legs. The legs are important. Just really squeeze the thighs. Once you do that, you'll notice that there'll be some tension on the hips. There'll even be some tension in the belly, and that will start to release as well. That'll start to help to release the belly back as well. Now, once you've moved side to side a little bit, and that's okay for you, you can also try to rock from left to right. It might be harder if you're on the sideways of the blocks. It might be, I find it personally a lot more easier if the block is along the spine. If it's okay for you to drop the head back, no pressure on the neck or head, you can bring the arms back as well and do the exact same. Now I'm just going to readjust because I want it in its length. Again, yes, much better, much better. All right, we're just rocking back and forth. Make sure the legs are still working and you haven't completely relaxed. Coming back into center. Maybe bringing the chin in. Ooh, use the hands. And lift up again. Again, that Dandasana position, maybe bringing the chin down a little bit if it's necessary. If you really feel like it's aching in the back, you might have gone a little too far. And I'd recommend either removing a block or putting a blanket over it. That should be fine. Again, just 2 breaths here. Inhaling down into the hips, lower belly. Exhaling, pushing it out. All right. Even you can reach up and bring the hands up a little bit. Last breath, and on that exhale, you can drop the hands down again. Now, I'd recommend not just doing the opening practice, but also working on stabilizing, because if you don't, it'll just tighten up, the tissue will just tighten up again. If you notice that there are certain poses that are helping more than others, do those a little bit more, all right? And if this is the end of your practice, I hope to see you soon.